Hello, my name is Will, and I'm with Bluebird Consultants. Today, I'd like to go over 3 challenges we have with notifications in Smartsheet. I think that a lot of people use notifications and they're really convenient. Automations in general are wonderful in Smartsheet, but there are some limitations that I think are really helpful to know. So when you're working with your team, you're aware of working around them. So the first one is accessible history. So when someone is getting an update request in Smartsheet, they may make a change and that value will come to the sheet. So if I were to send an update request to myself and I were to update the notes, it would show that I updated them, but it's not going to show that I actually updated them via update request anywhere in here. It's just going to show that I updated in the cell. So you have to be aware that when you're working with people, whether it be in the sheet or outside, you're not going to have a great paper trail as far as where the information came from and how many times you requested it either. So once the request has been closed out, it's gone from the sheet. So it's not going to really be easy for you to show, hey, these are all the times I requested, these are all the times that I got answers back and so forth, other than what you see on the sheet and what actually got updated. The next part is knowing where to set settings for permissions. So maybe you think that you set the sheet to automatically share to everyone else, but you're not really sure anymore. You go to automations here and you go to manage workflows, and there's this gear right here. It's kind of small and a lot of people miss it, but the sheet is automatically set to not share to anybody. So that means if you set a notification and you're thinking, oh, I'm just going to send it to these people that I didn't share to the sheet, it's not going to let you do that. And it's going to warn you, but it's inconvenient because it's not easy for you to tell in advance and proactively. And you'll see that there's restricted, limited, and unrestricted, which a lot of times we do unrestricted because the notification is usually what we want to work with, and rarely are we trying to send to people outside that we don't at least want to give them that alert or update request anyway. It's important to come in here and set that to unrestricted if you're going to use it that way. And it's important to remember that it's going to by default be restricted. So now the third one and the most challenging, I think. In Smartsheet, we sometimes will set up a formula to automatically check a box or maybe count a certain number, and then we will set an automation to run off of that. So let's say that after the item is completed, we move row from this sheet to the other, and our completion is actually a cross-sheet formula to another sheet. If no one is entering that sheet to make the completed item, so to actually change the value from in progress to complete, Smartsheet is not going to change it. Smartsheet is not going to run the automation for you necessarily, because Smartsheet usually requires for the user to be in the sheet doing it. When you have a formula making the change and that being the trigger to your automation, you will find that Smartsheet is not always reliable with that. And what I would very much recommend is for you to use in your trigger options. So you'll see there's a couple different trigger options. There are when rows are added or changed, or when rows are changed and when rows are added. This is just fine when you have something that someone's using the sheet on. And it's like, so if they're directly in the sheet, that's fine. But let's say you have a sheet that is kind of removed from the activity of the users, you're going to want to use when a date is reached. And then you can set it to be custom and you can set it to be a day. So a lot of times we recommend customers to set this up, and then what they'll do is that you'll see a time right there. Once they get it right to how they want to see it, they duplicate it as many times as they need. You could duplicate it to go every hour if you needed, so that basically when the criteria changes, it runs on that hour. Sometimes it does work to have automation be triggered by a formula, but it doesn't always work. And so I would say don't trust it. Do it this way because you'll know it reliably works for you. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.